Hey, what's up everybody? Hammer Heart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we are doing edition 2, volume 2 in my series where I am doing an in-depth dive into Canada's metal scene. In part 1, I tackled Western Canada, being British Columbia and Alberta, and today we're going to be talking about Central Canada, being the provinces of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. I won't go into as long of an intro here as I did in the first edition of this series, but if you didn't check out that video, go check it out. Basically, the gist of this series is just to really dive into Canada's metal scene as a whole, because I feel like we don't get enough respect as a country that produces a lot of great metal bands. So I thought it would be a fun series to do to really showcase about 100 of my favorite Canadian bands. So I'm going province by province, doing a few editions in this series. There'll probably end up being at least 3, possibly 4 editions in this series. So today we're doing part 2, talking about Central Canada. So me, myself, am from Central Canada in Manitoba, so I've got quite a few bands from Manitoba that I will be talking about because I'm much more familiar with the local scene here in Winnipeg. I know tons of the bands. I know members of some of the bands. My old bands have played shows with many of these bands as well, so I'm a little more familiar with that scene, but I'm going to start with Saskatchewan. Not as familiar with the Saskatchewan scene. I think I've only got about 5 bands here, but as usual, give me your picks down below. If you're aware of a lot of other bands that I should go check out from these provinces, definitely let me know. So without further ado, let's just get into this. I'm going to talk about Saskatchewan first of all. As with the last video, I'm not ranking these bands in terms of like my preference. I'm just going through them alphabetically. So here we go. Saskatchewan kicking it off with one of my favorite Canadian bands that sadly is no longer together, and that is Altars of Grief. So if you're unfamiliar with this band, they play like blackened doom metal, prairie doom they call it, a huge like Woods of Ypres influence, like that's undeniable. You hear them and you can tell that that's a band that they were clearly inspired by. And wow, their last album before they broke up, Iris, absolutely amazing. If you've never checked out this band and that album specifically, do yourself a favor and go check it out. Like Blackened Doom, masterpiece. It's so sorrowful and heavy and it's gonna weigh you down, but oh man, it's gorgeous. Just a beautiful album. Even the split they did right before that as well of Ashen Dying Light, awesome stuff. Their debut was pretty good as well, but then I feel like they stepped up their game on the next split and the full length. But yeah, honestly, one of my favorite Canadian bands. I hope that they get back together at some point to release new music, because I will be sure to listen and grab it as soon as that happens, if it ever does. Moving it along, next band I'm talking about is Desecrate Scripture. This is some black metal from Saskatchewan. I believe they only have 1 album. I probably should have looked that up before making this list, but what was it called? Under Gray Skies, I think, from probably a decade ago, which is a pretty solid black metal album. I have seen this band live, which was cool. Yeah, not much more to say about that. They only have 1 album here to check out that I'm aware of anyways. Maybe they've got other stuff as well. But yeah, a really cool black metal band. Go check them out. Up next, one of the bigger names in Canadian metal, at least kind of, not a huge name, maybe not known worldwide, but at least across Canada, it's a pretty well-known band, and that is Into Eternity. This is a hard band to describe. It's like progressive metal mixed with melodic death metal. Probably mostly well known for their former vocalist and now current vocalist, again, Stu Block. He had left the band to join Iced Earth, which was really cool to see him get the shot in Iced Earth. And his albums with Iced Earth, he killed it. Really awesome stuff. But here in Into Eternity, he does the clean vocals, but he also does harsh vocals as well. So it's a little bit different than what he did in Iced Earth. But yeah, just a killer band with a unique style. The albums with Stu Block on it, like the Scattering of Ashes and the Incurable Tragedy, top-notch stuff. They've got some different vocalists throughout their whole career. There's another band that I've seen live quite a few times actually, and they are playing Manitoba Metal Fest this year as well with Stu Block, so that will be really cool to see them once again. And yeah, if you haven't checked them out, do yourself a favor and go check them out. Up next, go back with some more black metal with Nachtterror. This is another band that I maybe don't have as much experience with. I've only heard one album by them titled Judgment from a few years ago, but I really dug that album. It was really well done. I don't know a ton about the band beyond that. I've never seen them live. Don't know anything about the members, but nonetheless, just based on the merits of that one album alone, I felt like putting them on this list. So go check them out if you have not heard them. Last band that I will talk about from Saskatchewan is Untimely Demise. This is a great thrash band. While I say thrash, they really bring in like a harsher tone as well, almost like some blackened sections, and it really just features like a technical flair, really melodic guitar riffs, and like the guitar work in this band just kicks so much ass. Another band that I have seen live, and another one that's playing Manitoba Metal Fest this year as well. A lot of these bands tour across Canada, which is really cool. But yeah, if you're looking for some good old school thrash, look no further. Go check out Untimely Demise. Okay, so like I said, that was it for Saskatchewan. I don't know too many bands from Saskatchewan, so let me know down below some other bands that I should go check out, because I'm always looking to explore, especially some Canadian content. Would like to find out some more bands from Saskatchewan. But now we're into Manitoba, a scene I am very familiar with because of everything I said at the beginning of the video. This is where I live. So I got quite a few bands to talk about. This is past and present bands. A lot of these bands aren't around anymore. Some of them still are going. So I'm just going to whip through this. I didn't want to put like 50 local bands, so I kind of just am highlighting my favorite ones from the course of my lifetime here. So here we go. Kicking it off, I'm going with Archagathus. This is some gore grind, and this is just a truly excellent live band. To be honest, I don't actually own any of their albums. I've never sat down and listened to their albums as a whole, but I have seen them live a handful of times, and just on the strength of their live shows, I'm putting them on this list because it's so entertaining. They just headbang the whole time. It's really great stuff, exactly what you want in this style of music. Really cool band to check out. Go listen to them if you haven't. Up next, I'm going with Besieged. This is some death metal, thrash metal, kind of a hybrid of the two. I would say the biggest inspiration or influence here is like old school Sepultura. It really has that same vibe and energy to it, and it's just a really captures that spirit of old school death thrash, and they do it so well. They had a new album from a couple years ago that just ripped, really killer guitar, awesome death thrash. Go check out Besieged if you have not. Up next, let's switch to some black metal with Cell. So this is another great band to see live. They wear the corpse paint. They go all out, which is really cool. I've seen them a handful of times. Yeah, they've got kind of like interesting concepts on their albums about, like, I'm not exactly sure what the concept is actually, but it's some kind of like cosmic, spacey stuff. But yeah, when I say black metal, like they're bringing in some death metal influence as well, and just different kinds of like thrashy riffs as well. I wouldn't call this cosmic black metal, maybe just in the like lyrical scope. But overall, yeah, a really cool black metal band. Go check out Cell if you have not. Up next, I'm going with Entity. So this band, I think, started in Manitoba, then maybe moved away and comes back here and there. So I'm putting them in Manitoba because that's how I first identified with them. I played a couple shows alongside this band with some of my older bands. And yeah, this is like old school death metal, but brings in some technicality to it as well. The vocalist guitarist is really great. His vocals are awesome, and his guitar playing is really good as well. Just all in all, a great live band. Really interesting tunes and interesting take on the death metal genre. Go check out Entity if you have not. All right, let's switch it up here with Evil Survives. So this is some traditional new wave of British heavy metal, if that makes sense. You can't really have new wave of British heavy metal from Canada, but that's the style they're going for. Pure like Iron Maiden worship here. Almost like their different albums almost were dedicated to like a different style of Maiden, or a different album of Maiden in a way. At least that's, to my ears, that's what it sounds like. But this was a great live band as well. And just really cool to see like this style of metal in my home city, because you don't get too many traditional heavy metal bands here, unfortunately. It's more, our scene is more the extreme metal variety, which I love as well, but it's always nice when there's a local traditional heavy metal band as well, and Evil Survives was a good one. Don't really think they're around anymore, but yeah, back in the heyday, it was good stuff. Speaking of another band that's not around anymore, Hoarfrost. This was a really cool black metal band. brought in elements of death metal as well. I knew a couple of the people in this band, and they were just really cool guys and always put on a good show. Yeah, I don't think I'm not even sure if they ever released a full length. I know they had a demo or two, but yeah, they were just great to see live and good guys, so I wanted to mention them. Hoarfrost was a cool black metal band from Winnipeg. Up next, kicking it old school with Immortal Possession. So this is some early 90s death metal from here in Winnipeg. They were around in the early 90s, then kind of weren't around forever, but then reformed a few years back and actually put out a full length, was that last year or a couple years ago? But yeah, just old school death metal. Their vocalist Chuck is really cool guy. He's like one of the bigger names in the local Winnipeg scene here. Just yeah, a really cool guy. He's got a ton of bands, but this is one of the original Winnipeg death metal bands for sure, at least to my knowledge. I mean, I wasn't around to listen to stuff before the 90s, but yeah, go check out Immortal Possession if you have not. Speaking of another band that was around kind of when I first started getting into the scene here in Winnipeg, Lykeum. This was a symphonic black metal band, think like inspired by bands like Demu or Cradle of Filth with like the symphonics, but then great harsh vocals and blasting drums. It was, yeah, one of the first bands that I saw on live shows here in Winnipeg. That's kind of the era that I grew up in, was some of these bands. So I'll always be thankful to them for kind of showing me this style of music in my local scene, because there wasn't a ton of it around back then in like the mid-90s. But yeah, go check them out if you have not. Up next, going with a current black metal band, Nocturnal Departure. So this is some raw black metal from here in Winnipeg, and this is another band I've seen live a handful of times. Really great, harsh vocals, just raw black metal, got the corpse paint and everything going too, just really captures that aesthetic. Their albums are great too. Yeah, you like your black metal raw, go check out Nocturnal Departure. They're a great current band from here in the local scene. Another great black metal band is Noire. This is more on the melodic black metal side, think like huge dissection inspiration and things in that vein. I don't believe they're around anymore. At least I haven't heard any activity from them in quite some time. Maybe they're just on hiatus, but they were always a great band to see live. I really dug seeing them every time that I did, and their albums are great too. Another just great black metal band from Winnipeg. Let's stick with black metal once more with another current project, and that is Primordial Serpent. This is a one-man black metal project from here in Winnipeg. He is extremely proficient at putting out releases. Like, I can't even keep up with it. I swear, like every few months he's got a new release coming out, which is crazy. I don't know how he can write this much stuff and record it and do everything, but hey, more power to him. I did meet this guy, the man behind the band, when I went to see Storm Ruler. I ran into this guy at the concert and had a conversation with him. A really cool guy, really dig the music, puts out some really good albums. So definitely go check out Primordial Serpent if you're into black metal at all. All right, let's switch it up from black metal now for a couple of these next bands. Putrescence. This is a gore grind band, probably one of the earliest in this scene anyways here in Manitoba. Think like Exhumed, very similar style to that, bringing in the death metal, but more on a grindy edge. This band was around a really long time. I don't think they're together anymore, but yeah, one of the bigger names from the local scene here for sure. Go check them out if anything I just said sounds like you might like them. Let's stick with some death metal here with Regurgitated Guts. This is probably my favorite local band at the moment, at least seeing them live a handful of times. They just really capture that old school death metal style. Their drummer is the vocalist, which really adds something to it as well, and their guitarist is just headbang the whole time, and you will be headbanging along to it as well. Just an amazing live band, heavy as fuck, and yeah, just amazing stuff. Like I said, probably my favorite local, like, current band that's going right now. Sticking with death metal, let's go with Sabbatory. So this is just another killer old school death metal band from here in Winnipeg. Seen them live a handful of times. I know there's a theme here. Most of these bands I'm maybe not overly familiar with all their recorded material, but I've seen them live so many times that I'm putting them on the list just on the basis of that, because yeah, I love going to local shows here, and a lot of these bands play a lot of the time, at least over the course of the years. But yeah, killer death metal band, go check them out. Sticking with death metal, going with possibly the first death metal band that I saw a live show of ever, and that is Serrated Scalpel. So this band is not around anymore. This features Chuck from Immortal Possession. This was one of his bands after that. And yeah, like I said, this was one of the first live concerts I ever went to when I was old enough to go to shows. So we're talking like late 90s, going to my first metal shows and then seeing this band, and yeah, blew me away. Had never seen anything like this live in person in my teenage years. And yeah, amazing stuff. They're not around anymore. I know they did get back together for like a one-off show a couple years ago, but yeah, I'll always remember them as being one of the first death metal bands I ever saw live. Sticking with death metal, going with Vathek. So this is a modern band, kind of has some blackened elements in there as well. I classify them more as a death metal band. I used to see them live quite often. I haven't seen them in a bit now. I'm not sure their status or what's going on. I think some members have kind of come and gone, but some of my old bands used to play alongside them at a few shows, which was cool. So I know a few of the guys that were in the band and that maybe are still in the band. But yeah, really cool death metal band. Go check them out. Last but not least, I'm going with Wilt. This is some atmospheric black metal mixed with doom. Very like slow paced, so I'd say it's more on the doom side than the black metal side, but they kind of have the aesthetic of a black metal band, and it's really all about the atmosphere here. I know a couple of the dudes in this band, and they're really cool guys. Been in a few other bands as well, but I wanted to talk about this band because I feel like this is the best project that these members have been in. And yeah, they're just good dudes, put on a good live show, really good albums as well. So go check out Wilt if you have not. So that's it for my edition today, talking about Saskatchewan and Manitoba. That's just some current and past bands that I think you should check out. You can look forward to at least one more edition in this, maybe two more. I haven't decided yet because Ontario and Quebec are a lot bigger of provinces with a lot more bands, so I don't know if I'll squish that all into one video or I might just do Ontario next time and then Eastern Canada after that. I'll think about it. I'll see how many bands I want to talk about because yeah, I don't want to do like an hour video. I'd rather do two 20-minute videos instead, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, you can look forward to at least one more edition in this series, probably two. So until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews, out.